Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Outnumbered on this beautiful day. Well, we are here to bring you to speed with the headlines for the day. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, I have Antonia Nwokolo. Good morning,
Good
Antonia.
morning, Ramsey.
Christopher Sunday. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a beautiful day.
Have
The
you
both
seen
of you are
Antonia
looking
this morning?
sharp. Well, Antonia is looking so sharp
You
this
guys
morning.
have numbered me. She's looking.
No, she's the one
This
that's
is blue.
numbered.
That is blue.
Okay.
Okay, we are wearing blue too.
Okay.
Okay, we have counted and numbered ourselves this morning.
Bringing you to speed with the headlines for the day. Let's get started with the Daily Trust newspaper. From the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, I have this first headline, which says 17 slain soldiers for burial in Abuja today. That's sad. You know, well, so many things happening, and we've not seen anyone arrested yet directly in connection with that, even though we heard on paper that some persons were actually arrested. Kano governor nominates Kwankwaso's son, sack commissioner for cabinet appointment. Details of that you can get on page 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper, and that takes me to the big story for the day. The big story says that 60 hours after, Kuriga students yet to reunite with family. Right? 60 hours later, Kuriga students yet to reunite with families. And of course, that is so pathetic, but then let's see what happens
No, actually,
afterwards.
it's not a bad. It's not from the bad light. Before they hand them over to their parents, they need to undergo rehabilitation.
Yes,
They need to do psychological what's it called, test to see whether they're in
if they
the
are
right frame
okay.
of mind before handing them over to the family.
Because I could remember some of the Chibok girls that were released. We heard that some of them said they were no longer interested in coming to get united with their family.
That is because they have been hypnotized.
Yes. All right, some writers to that story. The first writer says that we are eager to have them back home. Parents talking. The second writer says they are undergoing psychotherapy, according to government. The submission of two lists responsible for 287 figures resident. And the last writer to that story says a bandit's kingpin, yellow jambros behind adoption. Well, if the person behind the abduction is been known, then I think that is a problem half solved. All right, because a problem known is half solved, and you can get the details of that on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. IPOB funding terrorism through sports betting platforms and crowdfunding. Federal government is the one saying that. I think the federal government is doing so much in these few days, naming people sponsoring, financing terrorism. Then this morning, they are also coming to say IPOB is funding terrorism through sport betting platform and crowdfunding.
Apart from sport betting, there is this allegation too that even clubs are being used to sponsor some immoral act.
Okay.
Clubs are being used to also launder money abroad. That's why when you see people.
Are you talking about nightclubs?
Yes, nightclubs. No, not sorry, nightclubs.
Okay.
When you start seeing people doing dorime, buying one bottle of champagne for 1 million naira, spraying dollars on the in the club, those things allegedly is being used to launder
but Christopher,
out.
Why is EFCC,
And,
not going to the clubs? Yeah, no, EFCC should be able to do anything.
I am
Sometimes they disguise.
Yes, I am aware.
As far as getting people who are culprits of this thing.
The truth of the matter is that EFCC may be doing their investigation. You won't know. I am aware of a club in Nasarawa State that up till now is not functioning because the owner of that club has been picked by EFCC.
That's right. I think more needs to be done. And finally, from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, we must treat kidnappers as terrorists. Tinubu is the one saying this. I take that again. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria said we must treat kidnappers as terrorists. Even people who are actually terrorizing the North. There was a time that they wanted declaring them as terrorists, and a lot of eyebrows But then they still went ahead, and now he said even kidnappers should be treated as terrorists. I think that's a good one. We'll talk more about that maybe much later. Let's move to the next paper right now. Over to you.
All right, from the Vanguard newspaper this morning, CBN raises interest rates to 24.75%, insists all verified FX block backlog is cleared. That story is on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. On the page 12 of Vanguard newspaper this morning, Omeya was never governor of Rivers, court rules. You know the story, you know why? Because of how Amechi too came into power, took over from Omeya when he came back from Ghana from exile, with the help of his chief of staff then, who was the former governor of Rivers State and now FCT minister. And that is why I also feel that at times we have to pay attention to relationship than politics. The relationship between Wiki and Amechi over time ought not to be squashed away or crushed away by politics.
Those people, they are merely deceiving Nigerians. They know how important their relationship is.
All right,
and that's why they'll tell you there's no permanent enemy
there's no permanent friend.
Just friend. As far as politics is concerned, it's all about interest. So they may still have their relationship intact.
They may even be quarreling. On the media might be seeing their on screen, or they are chatting with each other on WhatsApp.
Don't mind those guys.
Yes, so they are just
from that ruling. They say because of what brought Omeya to how he became, though he ruled for some time before the Supreme Court now said no, the processes that brought him as governor of Rivers State is faulty. So Amechi was now declared. When I know Amechi was the first governor in Nigeria that never campaigned, but he became governor. He only campaigned within the during the primaries of his political party. Binance collaboration with SEC, EFCC, NSA fruitful, says the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Okay. That story you will find on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. NSE president shares Vanguard International Women's Day as Okotete, Osafile, Ambrose Medebam others attend. Banditry, Zamfara under siege, Governor Lawal tells Tinubu. I think I am happy with the development, though we are going to discuss that during the big story. Zamfara should be paid attention to, because what we have in Zamfara is even more than what we have from the south, or the oil producing state. The gold in Zamfara is more than what we have, and it's the pure gold. We are not talking about those other ones we find in other countries. And that is why you see foreigners are using our people to invade and to put Zamfara under siege, so that they can always, every night, you need to see the quantity of gold that moves out of Zamfara. Every night, you need to see.
I feel
you see the mineral resources we have in Nigeria. Kogi State alone, we also have gold in Kogi State. We have coal in Kogi State. We have cement in Kogi State. We have everything. But you see, at night there are some things that moves out of Kogi State without the
authorities
knowing. In Obajana Cement company. Allegedly, gold is coming out of that place. Another one again.
But you think it's cement that's coming out?
You think it's only cement? What the government signed with them? Other things are coming out of that place. Because when you get a mineral resources deposited in a particular place, when you dig further, there are other ones coming out. So the ones you sign with them is what you think they are bringing out. They are going deeper than you think.
And they are discovering.
And they are discovering every day. Well, like I said, this government is let's see how it goes. I pray they are not just trying to be politically correct anyway. And the big story on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, Okoma. Well, how government security bodies failed to rein in militant leader. I think that I have problem with that again. We go about killing people, innocent people. I expect that they should go after the militant leaders, or militant leader, as the case may be, bring them to justice, and then through him or through them, they will also fetch out other people. But by the time you go raiding people's house, killing people, and all that, you will find out that you must have cleared
I
out
think
a generation.
Clark's house was also invaded.
Yes, I think they invaded his house to see whether he's actually harboring them. There is
Harboring
nothing wrong
those
with
guys that
invading them
killed
because
the soldier.
he's a lone voice. He's a voice there, and the way he speaks, he's defending his people. And if you keep on defending your people unnecessarily against the
Maybe
government,
very soon he may be invited, like
just
they
like Gumi.
invited Gumi.
Yes, I am, and I'm happy that Gumi eventually
He went, and
yeah,
I think he spoke
honored the
yesterday.
invitation. He spoke yesterday.
Yes,
We'll get to know
the
the
details
detail of
shortly,
that.
and we will bring
Okay,
them
that'll
up
be the
to the
size
fore.
of the review from the Vanguard newspaper. Over to you, the only lady in the house.
Thank you, Christopher. On the leadership newspaper, federal government to roll out malaria vaccine in Bayelsa and Kebbi. That story is on page 6. And Nalcon takes Umrah visa issue to Saudi Arabia. You can find that story on page 12. The big story on the leadership newspaper says, as attacks on farmers escalate, 18.6 million Nigerians face acute hunger. And now there's a description showing the food imports and agri exports from 2018 to 2022, and gives us also the deficit and surplus. And also it says food insecure Nigerians rise to 100 million from 66.2 million in 2023. It just goes to show that Nigerians are hungry. You can imagine, from 66.2 million to 100 million. That's a lot. What's the
That's like
population?
50%.
50% of Nigeria's population. Nigeria is over 200.
And that's what the statistics is telling us.
Yes, that's what
There
it's showing
might
us.
be more.
There might be more that
might be
are
more.
not recorded, and
Might be more.
it's so sad. And then underneath that, it says 165 farmers lose their lives to insecurity in 2024. So whilst there is hunger in the land, people that are still interested in agriculture cannot even go to farm, because at the end of the day, you end up dying. You're trying to plant and say, okay, let me get enough to even sell in my local community, or not. This is not even talking about export. This is selling within your local community, so that at least if this community has enough, the hunger will be reduced.
Yes, you cannot go.
Yes, you cannot go. So it's a very sad situation.
About 2 weeks ago, I told us here that there are some communities that farmers pay taxes to bandit terrorists for them,
so they can go to farm.
Yes.
It's more like
country.
it will
Meaning
not
they
be like
even know
a
this
daily ticketing system.
I don't know what's really happening.
Have you bought your ticket to farm today? So you pay 500
If
or
these people are
8,000
known
in your father's land,
community,
your community, in your own country,
stage.
somebody, maybe the persons doing these things.
But why is the government silent about all this?
It may not be silent, but
If you know these people, apprehend them.
is there deliberate will for you to go after them? And that is why I'm also happy with the big story this morning, the pronouncement by the president of the Federal Republic.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about
this
man
should be treated as terrorist.
Okay.
Let's continue with the headlines. IPOB gets funds from affiliates in 22 countries, and this is coming from NFIU. And finally, on the leadership newspaper, Okwama, slain soldiers for burial today. So the soldiers that were slain in Delta State, the soldiers and officers, they will be laid to rest today in Abuja. May their souls rest in peace. And that will be the size of the headlines from the leadership newspaper. Over to you, Ramsey.
All right, thank you very much, Antonia, for that for those headlines, rather. Let's get to the last paper for the day, which is the Punch newspaper, and we have some punchy headlines here. The first one says, Tinubu to vet foreign affairs ministries ambassadorial list. All right. Tinubu to vet foreign affairs ministries ambassadorial list. All right. Details of that you can get on page 7. Ambassadorial list, ambassadors. If you want to talk about ambassadorial list, then it should be something that the president should be very careful about that, because of collaborations and infiltrations. Because if that axis is porous, a lot will happen. Then from page 22 of the Punch newspaper, NCC insists on SIMNIN deadline telcos bar lines Friday. Okay? Then unemployment responsible for rising banditry, kidnapping. This one is coming from a former president, Obasanjo. Obasanjo have not spoken for a while. Anytime he comes out to speak, you know what it means. And this morning, he's saying unemployment is responsible for rising banditry and kidnapping. A hungry man is an angry man, and when you are angry and you are idle, you become the workshop of the devil. And you know what the devil can manipulate.
The issue of unemployment. Is it true that there is no job in this country? Or there are jobs, but people are not even ready to work?
It is relative.
Yeah.
Because you invite somebody for an interview in the field the person says she is good or he is good at, and then you discover that the person cannot even give you half of what you are looking for. And then as an organization that you want to move, you want to be better, you want to compete, how will you now employ such person that doesn't even have what it takes for him or she to be to work with your organization?
You're talking about the private sector now.
Be it private. In fact, the government should also take into cognizance. Why do you think government privatize companies? That's because they know that private sector will do better.
I think I like what you said. Take into cognizance. But
Yes.
they're not taking anything into cognizance. But because before you know, my father is there and my son needs to be there. My uncle is there.
Yeah.
And you begin to see square peg
Depends
in
on
round
who has
holes.
long
And that's the
legs.
problem we have. So that's why I said it's relative. If the economy of this country is stable and everybody go into entrepreneurship, it's going to be better. It's going to boost the economy. Look at China. Look at what is happening in China. I think the federal government is trying to an extent now because of the digital skill acquisition programs that is going on at different quarters. I think Nigerian youths should take advantage of that. But then when it comes to employment and unemployment, it is relative because of some syndrome that we have, some you need to know somebody in quote that we have in this country. But then I think for me it's still relative. Then the big story from the Punch newspaper this morning says CBN EFCC probe banks firms over alleged forex racketeering, and that's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. To write us to that story, and I'm going to be done because of our time. The first writer said CBN implements Deloitte FX audit report. EFCC may summon CEOs over $2.4 billion invalid requests. Then the second writer says several FX requests are fraudulent, made with invalid illegal documents. Cardoso insists that is coming from the central bank, of course. Well, let's see how all of this is going to end. And from my end, this is going to be the end of the newspaper headlines this morning on Outnumber. Let's go on a quick break. Yeah, after this break, we'll return back. I will return, of course, and it's going to be time for the big story. Don't go nowhere.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleke.tv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
Welcome back from that break. Let's go straight to the big story that we have for the day. Well, Christopher was talking about it earlier, and it's on the Daily Trust newspaper, where the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has come out to say we must treat kidnappers as terrorists. The action of the terrorists and the action of the kidnappers, if you put it side by side, I don't think there is much difference, from this axis. But then, it is one thing for these people to be declared as terrorists, and it's another thing for the necessary treatment to be meted to them. In the first place, I feel the federal government, apart from this pronouncement, I feel the federal government should do more to curb kidnapping. Like the former president said just now, hunger, I beg your pardon, hunger can lead to so many things.
And unemployment.
Unemployment can lead to so many things, especially when people are idle. So there are things that we should do. But then, whether you are idle or not, there are so many things Nigerian youths can do to get engaged and not kidnapping. Now that kidnappers have been termed, or that the president said they should be treated as terrorists, I think we need to see some things happen rapidly, all right, so that others can just pick from there and maybe take caution, because if something happened to one kidnapper, the other kidnappers or people who are nursing the idea will mellow down and will have a safe country. So as it is right now, Antonia,
Yeah.
what do you make of this statement that kidnappers should be treated as terrorists?
Yeah, I feel the president is right in that light. They should actually be treated as terrorists, because the effects of whatever thing that they are doing is as good as what the terrorists are doing to Nigerians. And like you mentioned, that certain things need to be put in place, like employment and everything. And once the kidnappers see that other kidnappers have been brought to book. There's this saying that the fall of a dead leaf is a warning to the living ones. So once one of them says, oh, this is what has happened to your co-kidnapper, maybe in Zamfara State or in Kaduna State, they would
Your colleague.
your colleague in the kidnapping business, they would retrace their steps. And not just retracing their step, because once you've taken someone out of what used to be their source of income, is in the bad light, you ought to replace it with something positive. And that is creating more empowerment programs, not audio empowerment programs that the monies will be allocated and they would share the slots to their family members and people will not get to. We know they should go out and find those youths who need to be meaningfully engaged, and they should engage them. And also, as a young Nigerian, you do not have to wait for the government to come up with these empowerment programs for you to be meaningfully engaged. I'm very sure that every young Nigerian out there values their life, and they also want to make their loved ones, their families proud. So if the government is not providing this, you should on your own strive. Learn a skill. There are courses online that you can take. Everyone has a smartphone these days. There are courses online that you can take to upgrade yourself. Learn a skill. Get into something legitimate where you can make your money and sleep with your eyes closed. You're not robbing anybody, and you're not selling your peace of mind because you're trying to make money. I think with this, the kidnapping would reduce, and Nigeria will become a safer place for every of her citizens to live in.
All right, so thank you, Antonia, for that. Nigeria can become a safer place for every citizen to live with their two eyes closed when they are sleeping. All right, let's get to you now, Christopher. As it is right now, the president has said they should be treated. Who do you think should be responsible for this treatment? Because what the president do most times is to give order, is to make these statements. And do you think this can actually be compromised along the line? Because sometimes if you see a toad jumping in the daylight, it's either something is after it or something is after it. So because we could have some people sponsoring this and benefiting from this. So what do you make of this statement generally?
Well, I think we should first of all talk about the what's it called?
Kidnappers?
No, we should talk about the statement coming from the president before we even talk about whether it will be sabotaged along the way or not. Why I'm saying this is that we expected such statement to come from Buhari's government, the 8 years of Buhari. As at then, kidnapping, don't forget that even though insurgency started during, or Boko Haram started during, what was it called? Jonathan. The ratio of death record, comparing Jonathan's 6 years and Buhari's 8 years. In fact, Buhari's first term, the number of people killed through insurgency is bigger, much more than that the number of people killed during Jonathan's government. Do you understand? So in this case, we expected Buhari to take the lead. There was this outcry even from the international community for the government to declare kidnappers or herdsmen as terrorists because of their activities. Like Antonia rightly said, when you check the activities of these people, you will discover that it's almost the same. They use the same gun, AK-47, the same method. Virtually everything is the same. So if you are declaring, some persons were declared
Financiers.
no, some people were declared as terrorists in the east because of their agitation and all that. And that is even one of the reasons why one of the agitators, the leader of the agitator or whatever, is still with the DSS. But that is a digression. Now, for me, this is a goodwill. This is what Nigerians have been expected from the government. Declare them. The implication of declaring people or somebody a terrorist is that the international community will have say in your matter. When you are arrested, the international community have the right to also take you in and then query you. You may even serve a very, very international criminal court may come into your matter, and then it is treated outside the shore of this country. But they don't. All these years they don't want to declare them as terrorists because they don't want international criminal court to have a say in it. They want it to remain within the confines of Nigeria, where the cases can be manipulated in favor of those committing the crime. So kudos to the president. Like I said on Monday, I said, for me, I will not say the president or this government has failed security-wise. And you see, every day he keep
like the Northern elders said.
Exactly, he keeps on proving that yes, he is not being. Well, we pray that at the end of the day, once this is signed and then the processes kickstart, why not? We shall not put our eyes on whether some people will be there to sabotage the process.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much for that explanation. Well, I think at this point we want to say a very big thank you to our viewers out there. This is going to be the size of today's big story on Outnumbered. And of course, let's see how it's all going to end. The president have said it. Let's see how this will be implemented. The treatment is what we are waiting for, if that will stop kidnapping in Nigeria. My name is Ramsey, and it's been Antonia and Christopher. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.